What's up, droners? Welcome to this week's edition of Droner News. Be here, and we actually have a lot of really cool stuff like the FAA knowing where you live if you fly drones. We have the Pentagon releasing swarms of drones, and we also have needles being hit by drones. Yeah, giant ones. Let's get right into it. So coming up first and foremost is the FAA's pilot list. Now, if you have registered your drone and registered yourself as an FAA certified pilot, then they have all your information. And you kind of have to wonder, like, okay, well, what happens with that? Is that something that the registry is just there for the FAA to find and reference when it's time to be like, oh, is this drone crashed in a place it shouldn't? Let's look up this number and look up this drone. Well, thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, now your zip code and what kind of and how many drones you have registered is going to be on the internet. And by going to be, it is already on the internet. So check it out. It's kind of interesting. It doesn't say your exact address, but it has over 20,000 registered drones already in the United States on the list. And I actually checked my zip code, and there's only 2. And I currently have only registered 2 of my commercial drones thus far, so out here balling. Either way, know that when you register your drone, you are on the list, and welcome to the government. Big brother. Coming in at number 2, the Pentagon's drone swarm. So the Department of Defense, in October did a funny video. I thought it was funny because it's like, they're like, hey, watch, we're gonna have these jets that are flying and we're gonna release some drones. You're like, okay, cool, and you're watching the video and you're like, I don't really see anything. Because these drones are so little fixed wing drones that are like, you know, like the size of your hand, I think like less than a foot. They're really small drones. And you see the jets and they're like, hey, Mark, okay, release. And it's like, you think it's gonna be a bomb. It's these little black dots fall out of the bottom of the jet. But the cool thing is that it's a swarm of drones that they were testing to be able to execute different orders. And in this case, to be able to go to different locations as a swarm. What's really cool about it is that this actually does live up to the idea of what a swarm really is that each individual drone does not have its own computing capacity. They all actually work together, compute together, and fly together. So they have the different points that they go to, they fly to, and you can actually see it happening on the map. Really cool, and the future technology is amazing. The drones are about 1 foot in diameter with their wingspan. They did 103 for the test, and it went so well that the government is looking for manufacturers that can do up to 1,000 of them for them because they're gonna be using them for a lot of stuff apparently, so keep your eye out. Coming in at number 3, if you recall from a previous Droner News, there was a thing called the PowerVision Power Egg, which is like a little egg that floated as in a drone. That was pretty cool, pretty compact, and just an egg you put in your backpack that could fly. It had a 4K camera. Well, they actually came out with an underwater drone now that is pretty darn cool. It goes underwater. It goes up to 98 feet down. It has 100 and 200 feet, and it's tethered, of course. Most underwater drones are. There's not that many. But this drone is pretty cool. It has LED lights on it. It also has the ability to hold bait and pretty much find fish. And their idea here is that they kind of want to redefine sport fishing. And I'm not a big fisherman, but I actually kind of think about like finding stuff in lakes and stuff. Like if you really think about it, people drop all kind of stuff in lakes. There's cars down there, there's buried treasure, there's, you know, Al Capone's, you know, suitcase, whatever. It's down there. And this is one of those things that if it's less than 100 feet down, it can probably find it. It has a first-person view capabilities, it has a camera on it, and it has LED lights. It's worth checking out. Crowdfunding. It's a dangerous, amazing thing. And I don't know if you ever heard of it. I believe, actually, I talked about it on one of my Droner News segments way back when, some of the original ones, is the Lily drone. The Lily drone floated like that leaf upon my head. Apparently, you just threw it into the air, and it floated on its own. It followed you on its own. It was waterproof. You could drop it in water. You could fly with it. It's a crazy, amazing drone. And they raised over $30 million for this drone on crowdfunding. And they also raised more money from independent angel investors. Still did not get enough money to be able to go into production. We're about $15 million short and had to issue refunds to everybody that already gave you their crowdfunding money. Horrible. I mean, this drone won kind of like before it even came out, it won awards for different shows and tech shows and all that. And now it's not going to happen at all. So word to the wise, if you're going to be investing in some kind of crowdfunding one, watch out for drones. Coming in at last but not least, number 5, we have a drone hitting the Space Needle. This one has been making rounds on the internet, and the interwebs, and it's just pretty much a video of a guy flying a drone right into the top of the Space Needle while there's a construction crew up there working on the top of it. And this is in Seattle. You can watch the video feed because, well, the guys who are working up there and the authorities now have that drone. So they released the video, and it's just like, you just see it. It's like, oh, look, it's doing a really cool shot of the Space Needle that's not stopping, and it's not stopping, and bam, runs right into it, and it doesn't fall off. It just lands on the Space Needle, runs into it, and now somebody should be getting in a lot of trouble. Now, this is a great example of why the FAA has everyone register their drones because they don't know whose drone this is right now. But if they find out, this person is royally screwed. But if they had had a registered drone, then they'd know exactly who it is and you'd be accountable for whatever damages or things that it was caused and probably like a ticket. Whereas now that if they find out whose this was, then they're in a lot more trouble, a lot more money. And either way, this is probably worth being on the Droner Fails list. Check out those lists. Droners, thank you for checking out this week's edition of Droner News. And if you want to see more drone-like Droner News stuff, you can click here. We have our intro video, which is like my favorite video we've ever done, right up there. Check it out. And as always, make sure that you subscribe to support what we're doing because that is what allows us to do what we're doing. Really appreciate that. And as always, make sure you stay fly.